Hey guys, Ben here from Wrestling Life, and if I was Tony Khan, I would be smiling from ear to ear at how the events of the last week have unfolded for WWE. Recording this video to ask the question, is now the greatest golden opportunity for AEW to capitalise and really steal a big portion of WWE's audience from them? This very frustrated and jaded audience who have made their thoughts known over the last week. There's a piece in the New York Post I was reading with interest this morning, talking about how WrestleMania going to Saudi Arabia is only feeding this concern in WWE perception. Obviously, the press conference for Saudi Arabia was so vehemently disliked that the chat had to be disabled within moments, because all you saw was "you sold out, you sold out, you sold out, AEW All Elite." It became an incredibly disliked video, the likes of which we haven't seen on WWE programming for a long time. People are being very vocal about how they feel about this. This comes off the back of, obviously, the media rights for WWE in the US going to ESPN's new direct-to-consumer streaming platform. So obviously, for a really big portion of WWE's domestic fan base, they've now got to pay a lot more for the product. There's obviously also this weekend coming up, Wrestlepalooza, this new show which, according to Triple H, has every potential to be yet another WrestleMania. The decision for it to go head-to-head with AEW All Out, of which forced AEW's hand to move the timing of All Out to a much earlier slot, so that actually wrestling fans don't have to pick but can watch both if they so choose. We've seen this more and more, this really aggressive counter-programming against AEW. The actions of a company that wants to be the total monopoly of wrestling and own wrestling. And every time we see this, there is a groundswell of people who will push back on that kind of thinking. I'm not just talking in wrestling, I'm talking in wider business and society. I don't think as consumers we like to be dictated to. I don't think we like to have our options forced on us. When All Elite Wrestling launched, it was very much the counter and the alternative product. And a video I put out recently asking about whether AEW should go family friendly got a lot of people vehemently disagreeing with me and saying absolutely not, it's the alternative, it's edgy, it's for adults, that's who it should aim for, they shouldn't change. And I'm not saying they necessarily should or they shouldn't. What I was asking with that video was whether or not who's going to be the kind of brand that is for families in the future, because it's looking like it's not WWE, or at least they're not welcoming it with their new pricing structure. It's not really currently AEW, although I do get a lot of people do take their kids, and that's cool. But I think AEW has always catered towards that older demographic. So my question really was, going forward, is WWE going to continue to be, this giant family brand that it once was, and the brand that, we think so fondly about the 1990s when we look back on that nostalgia. When it comes to the 2020s, what brands are, the next generation going to be so nostalgic for? That was a question I was asking, and I'm really interested to see where things go from here. But what I want to say is, Tony Khan and AEW right now, this really is the time to step up. That company has done some incredible things over the last few years, but there has obviously been, some volatile times as well. Some of its biggest stars have obviously moved to WWE, and that's been a major blow. Significantly, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Jade Cargill, three of the main ones. But we're seeing recently with Penta, with Ray Phoenix. There's been Ricky Starks. There's been a more and more moves, and there's talks that Chris Jericho is going to finish his career up in WWE en route to a WWE Hall of Fame. There's been rumours for a while about Moxley. You never can tell within the world of wrestling, but especially with so much money now on the line in WWE, it's got to be pretty tempting. to go back home, as Triple H would say. But what I want to see, and I'm going to use this channel as much as possible as I can to champion the alternative. So to champion AEW, to champion the independents, to use this channel to share the stories of perhaps people that you don't know that much about already, or you'd like to know more about, people that aren't getting that huge superstar spotlight. I'd really, really welcome your comments in the feed to let me know people you think I should interview, people with amazing stories that you'd like to hear more from, and crucially the promotions that you'd like to see get more love on this channel. But I really just want to kind of hammer home that point that I think AEW has an incredible time to shine right now. One of the things with the Saudi deal that I think has really kind of got people feeling very, very saddened, and more so than obviously all of the Saudi shows so far, because someone asked me, have I boycotted all of the Saudi shows in the last 8 years? And the honest answer is pretty much all of them, yes. My interest, I'm not going to lie, I did get drawn in for The Undertaker and Goldberg, because that was too big a spectacle not to watch. With hindsight, not exactly a match I enjoyed in any respect. I've watched a handful of the main events and a few clips, but by and large, I've avoided the Saudi shows on point of principle because I don't feel very comfortable. There was, in the announcement the other day following WrestleMania 43, there's a great response from Robert Jackman that I read online, and I think this is the perfect snapshot of how so many WWE fans are feeling at the moment, and where AEW could capitalise as an alternative. Robert wrote, "There's the metaphorical price tag, the burning question as to whether WWE has now fully sold out to a Middle Eastern nation run by an autocratic monarchy with a pitiful human rights record." There is it in a nutshell. That is what so many people are hurting from right now. That is where, our WWE has always been an overtly capitalist company. It's never shied away from its desire to, or its ability to make money. But where it's getting really hard now is to see how far the company is willing to go to bolster the bottom line for its shareholders. And I think that's where people will walk away. And, I've been so encouraged by the comments to that YouTube post I shared the other day about walking away. I actually feel really refreshed. I feel refreshed for this channel. I feel refreshed for my love of wrestling. I'm excited that sharing that has opened this channel up to some new audience, which is brilliant, because all I want to do is bring great conversations to you with amazingly talented people from the world of wrestling, both the past, the present, and the future. So, I think there's going to be really big opportunities here. I think AEW is in the perfect position to grasp this. All Out 2026, all announced for Wembley Stadium, really does have the potential to be the biggest UK wrestling show of all time. If you think about all the people that were so hurt and upset that WrestleMania is going to Saudi Arabia rather than London for its first ever overseas show, for WrestleMania, especially after John Cena hyped it up so much last year. There'd been the high profile meetings before with the Mayor of London. There'd been so many breadcrumbs laid to London playing host to WrestleMania. I think AEW has a massive, massive opportunity to really, really own the UK market now, and for us to feel so proud of a brand that we can get behind in much the same way that we got behind the WWF so strongly in the late 80s and the early 90s when their domestic business was waning. So, I just want to give all the encouragement in the world to AEW right now. I'm really excited for what's to come. And, we hear it often at the start of the WWE show, then, now, forever, together. And I think it might be time for Triple H to really give a good hard think about actually what togetherness means anymore, and whether or not we really are together anymore, or whether they've pushed fans away and they've pushed fans too far. So that's me for today. I've been Benville. This is Wrestling Life. Rambly as always and tripping over my words, but just trying to find my way through this crazy past couple of weeks and trying to work out what my relationship is now with wrestling. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Is this AEW's time to shine? Can they become, the biggest wrestling promotion, certainly here in the UK? Does Tony Khan need to make any changes to make that happen? And what would you like to see more of on this channel? Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for listening to my rambles. Be back soon for more real talk from real talent. Be good to each other. Take care. Bye-bye.